Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel. I'm gonna mix it up today. I'm gonna do a little, just a general reading with no actual piles. On which note, I would like to come up with a better word than the word pile. I know everybody understands pile, but I feel like it's not really a very reverent word, and I'd love to come up with something better. I was thinking of mountains, but you know, that's a little bit beyond. So this is from a deck called Cards to the Heart that I was gifted at Burning Man, actually, many years ago. And I am not quite sure where I took the deck to the regional burn I was just at. Sorry for the sniffles, I'm still sick. A little bit. And so I ended up pulling, I was going to walk around and, you know, gift out cards from this deck, much as I was gifted the deck in turn once upon a time. And I ended up only pulling one card, and a friend pulled one card. And the one that I pulled was so ass-kicking that I have been sitting with this question since then. And so I was thinking that I actually hadn't quite fully formed an idea for what we should look at today. But something you've had to unlearn, I think that's a great place to start. So I was kind of thinking in terms of like a, you know, no contact with your person situation. I'm just kind of thinking aloud here. But in any event, something you've had to learn, let's say something you've had to unlearn in relationships. Let's make it more specific than just something you've had to unlearn. Did I just put that card back? A card flipped out and I put it back. That is how spacey I am tonight. So hopefully it comes out again. Oop, there's one for us. There's two. So we're just gonna pull a few cards and see what the energies are. These are the crystal cards that I just acquired because I love the idea of putting actual crystals to piles, but then I saw this deck while looking for a fresh deck, and I just really love the idea of being able to learn about different crystals and also sort of pick things in a tarot-like manner. Oh goodness, we got a few there. Okay, we'll stop for now with these ones. Okay, so this is going to be a general reading for everyone who watches and resonates with it. I wanted to try and do maybe a bit of a shorter reading because the last one I did had some technical difficulties and ended up being quite long. And while I enjoyed working with that length, I think it'll be nice to, you know, mix it up and do one long, one short, that sort of thing. So maybe we'll pick two more just to make it an even, or three more here. There's one now. Yeah, it's been really fun editing out all the coffee. If it looks like I'm like picking cards in advance and then feeding you, you know, lines, it's just because I'm editing out all the times that I cough, which is resulting in lots of little jumps in the videos, and it's very time consuming. I can't wait till I'm feeling better health. It's been a long one, this one. It was sort of like a very fast, feverish cold, and then it's just been a lingering cough for multiple members of my family. So anyway, let's get one more card here. One more piece. So what does the collective need to know about something they've had to unlearn in relationships? One more card. There we go. Oh, we got two. All right, well, those came out together. We'll just add in the last one there. Let's see what we got here. So I haven't used this deck in this manner before, but we're just gonna go for it. As you write. Okay, who needs it? The materialistic, vain, and always craving. That's not a judgment, that's almost all of us, Leos especially. Everybody likes to poke fun at Leos. Leos are very heart-centered in my experience. They are some of the most generous, loving human beings around. But they do get a bad rap from people who like to tease them for being egotistical. And so as you write, can be used when the material pleasures aren't giving you the buzz they used to. When it's time to take a break from snapping selfies and chasing shiny things. You can shake off shallowness. Start with your breath, then dive into the deep end with azurite. So perhaps something that we need to unlearn is sort of making relationships into, a selfie opportunity. Epidote, we had this one yesterday. Anyone putting in the work on their self. When you're looking to kick a bad habit, a bad friend, or a bad mood. When you want to cast a spotlight on your weaknesses so you can work on them. And so these are all going to be, there's going to be advice on each one of these for things to unlearn, I think. Or things to learn, perhaps, in some cases. So far we've got some selfie energy, and then we've got kicking bad habits. This one is chrysoprase, if I'm saying that correctly, or chrysoprase. Hypnotic green chrysoprase is a rare stone with a heavy helping of nickel, hence its mesmerizing verdant hue. Who needs it? Explorers searching for the fountain of youth. When to use it? When it's time to forgive that person who hurt you most, your parents, and most of all, yourself. You are not a doormat. You are an evolved being. When you feel like giving up on love, chrysoprase gives you the green light to keep going. Grow from your heart out. And so perhaps compromising too much, or, learning to forgive, finding that boundary between being a doormat and being forgiving of another. That may be something that you might feel like you need to unlearn. What I am finding with these tarot readings, and I'm feeling self-conscious about it, so I'm just going to name it, is that I'm having trouble putting things together, and it's coming with the tarot cards. But now I've gone and laid out, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10 of these cards, and so finding a synthesis, maybe it was a mistake to pull this many. But anyway, here we are. And I trust that, there are no mistakes, that this, something that I'm reading out here will resonate with someone. And I love sort of working around the central theme of something we've had to unlearn. And maybe a theme will emerge as we go. Okay, so orange calcite. Artist holding the proverbial paintbrush and staring at the proverbial blank canvas. Anyone whose sex life needs a little more life. It says where to put it, the honeymoon suite or the studio. So creativity, I suppose it's trying to say. Second chakra activation. Use it when you want to make something beautiful. Orange calcite's energy is all about breaking through the fog and the fear that hang on the path to creation. When you want to add some energy to your creative process or take on the Kama Sutra one page at a time, get with orange calcite sun-kissed vibes and unlock your creativity. So perhaps something we've had to unlearn is sort of being too much in our routines and forgetting that creative spark, that juice of life. Blue calcite. That was orange calcite, right? It's like a game of memory. Blue calcite is for people who stare up at the ceiling worrying about the future at 3 a.m. When to use it? When stress is the enemy, freaking out is not a prerequisite for accomplishment. Deadlines aren't death sentences. Stress will extinguish your creativity and crush your dreams if you let it. Call on the calming, focused energy of blue calcite to remind you to put stress in its place, far away from the joy of the process and the delight of dreaming big, and act on your dreams. Okay, so stress is something that many of us have to unlearn as we go. I'm just re-rolling. I reached for this card and I got too close to this candle and burned myself. So I'm very curious what the energies of this one are. Malachite. Who needs it? The overflowing in creativity, but lacking in follow-through. The all business all the time set. Use it when the concrete jungle has you disconnected from the earth beneath it. When you've just got to have the money, the power, and all the glory. Come at it with a heart-forward, sustainable energy, courtesy of Malachite, and claim your success. So, claiming my success just burned me, literally. Perhaps I need to unlearn to be so eager to grab it. I am not terribly success motivated. I once was, but you know, then life happens. Okay, serpentine. Who needs it? Kundalini yogis. Oh yeah, that's me. Anyone in need of a fresh start. When to use it? When it's time to let go of tired beliefs and get stuck energy unstuck. If serpentine arrives in your life, it's an invitation to rip off all proverbial band-aids and regroup. Hit the sauna, sweat it out, and release all lingering drama. Awaken your reptilian nature with serpentine. And so that ritual that it mentions of hitting the sauna and sweating it out, I used to live in Japan, and in Japan there's a lovely tradition called the onsen, and which will be familiar to anyone who has any knowledge of Japan. And I used to go between the sauna and the cold plunge, and it just was such a beautiful, beautiful ritual. I mean, after getting clean and soaking in the tubs, then I would just go back and forth until I felt like I'd been purified from the inside out. So yeah, so perhaps something to unlearn is letting go of, you know, being trapped in stuck energy, forgetting to move energy, which of course, you know, we do through body movement, through something like a tarot reading can be a little bit of a reset, an astrology reading, and working with crystals. Side note, the next deck I will get along these lines will be a herbal deck. I want to get one additional alternate tarot deck. I know I have some buried somewhere in this house, but I'd like to get one or two new ones as I get more comfortable with the cards, and then sort of venture out into more oracle decks. Oracle decks seem like they're really easy to gather, but good tarot decks, I think, that, you know, sort of still trigger one such as me who is, you know, still learning, to the meanings of the archetypes of the original Rider-Waite deck, and yet are able to sort of take a different spin on them. I'm seeing, you know, in some of the cards, I've expressed my frustrations with some of the cards in the Rider-Waite deck here, and so I can see why, you know, venturing out into other decks could sort of take care of some of the ways in which that deck feels a bit dated. But I still think it's really valuable to start there. And we will not end there. We will evolve, but for now, I'm trying to keep things simple so that I get a handle on actually doing the readings. And that's enough about my process. Back to you. Okay, and so kyanite is for the perpetually restless. It's beautiful blue yellow stone here. When to use it? When you found yourself drowned out by that mental noise. Even the greatest thinkers need to be reminded, thoughts are thoughts, reality is reality. You can deal with it like an anxious chihuahua, or you can get down with kyanite and align to the moment with your calm and cool intact. Deepen your perspective. So getting caught up in mental noise or anxiety might be something you've had to unlearn. We've got amethyst here. Who needs it? Train wrecks who go off the rails on the wet and wild route to Bacchanalia, and any Pisces guilty. That's me. And I do enjoy being a train wreck who goes off the rails on the wet and wild route to Bacchanalia. Sounds like a good time to me. I definitely get stuck in my routines though, so when I can, you know, find my way into, find the weight of those rails, then I quite enjoy it. I feel like I was once told that I played the part of a government lawyer too well, and I feel like I am reserved when giving presentations, and this is sort of like a presentation without you seeing my face, which that's pretty great for me. I'm definitely more comfortable with it, and eventually maybe we'll be face on camera eventually, or once in a while, but I sure love just talking to you with my hands for now. Alright, when to use it? When it's time to give up the victim routine and start living with purpose. Hold on tight to amethyst and get drunk on your highest self. That is a fabulous phrase. That is exactly the kind of drunk I like to be, and no other. Green calcite. Man, we got a calcite family here. Am I doing the memory game correctly? Green calcite is needed by anyone who finds themselves lost in the forest of doubt without a map, namely Libras. When to use it? When your heart is asking for something, but you aren't listening. The heart wants what it wants. Ooh, that one just got me in the feels. The mind wants what it thinks the heart should want. Call on the energy of green calcite to nudge that push and pull in the heart's favor and live out your heart's desire. So trying to control your heart with your mind might be something that you have had to unlearn. And so taking the prompt of this card here, if you would like to tell me in the comments, I would really love to get, as the channel does grow and build, quite frankly, I have the memory of a goldfish, and people do come up to me and tell me about readings later, and I can't even remember which pile or which reading they're referring to. But it is, I'm in those energies as I record, and then it's really beautiful when people are connecting with them later. And that's not necessarily the same moment as we're talking about it later for me. But I, would love to be able to sort of dip back into the readings and match up people's comments with, whatever's taken place in the reading. So if you feel like there's something you've had to unlearn, whether it's, about you and life in general, to do with your process, your career, or if, as I sort of set the intention at the outset, if it's something in relationship with another human or several other humans or a pattern of repeating humans, I would love to hear if any of these crystals resonated for you, what sort of patterns or traits you feel you've had to unlearn in your life. If you feel comfortable sharing in the comments, then please go ahead and do that, and I would love to just hear a little bit more. And as community builds, people sort of start supporting each other and connecting through comments on videos such as this one, so that would be really lovely. So I feel like we've kind of set the stage here. I think we're gonna keep out our main card to the heart. And interesting that we ended up with the green calcite prompting us to live out our heart's desire and let the heart show the mind the way rather than vice versa when we're using the cards to the heart as our initial prompt. So I'll just set those aside, and I'll just keep them out so that we can refer back to them if I so feel called. I was going to say if we feel called, so send me your psychic vibes and your desire to re-listen to cards if you are comfortable communicating with me through the ethers and across time and space. I think that's exactly what happens in these readings, and it's really special and lovely in my opinion. So I am just like minimizing thought here. There's no plan. I'm just intuiting my way through this, and my hands have reached for the Astro Cards. So let's pull a few of these and see where we end up next. I think the virtue of doing one general reading is that we can get a little bit more deeply into it and maybe pull some more cards or successive cards. And I don't know, I enjoy it when tarot readers are able to just sort of pull cards and tell a narrative and keep it going, and I aspire to be like that someday. But for now, there is a bit of a process in, learning the decks, learning the cards, but also just getting more comfortable with synthesis, putting it all together. I find that with astrology too. It's like that is definitely, like, you can learn all the little bits and pieces, but oh, we got a few here. Okay, these kind of came out together, so let's keep them together. Can we see that? Let's move you up a little bit. Can we get a, I was gonna say, can we get a clarifier for progressions? And then progressions just automatically got a few cards to join it right there. Hope you can see that. I'll beat it out if not. That one can go up a little bit more, and you can go there. Okay, so I noticed that we've sort of ended up with two sides here. So let's go. Well, we've got three on each side. Let's stop there. And maybe we'll pull a couple more after. So I am just, again, just going with it, with the intuitive sensing here. So if we're looking at something you've had to unlearn in a relationship, then perhaps you have a person in mind. We're going to take these energies on the left here as being your energies, and these on the right as being your person. And maybe I'll slide these over a little bit and make room for the connection between you in the middle. So let's do it like that. So I'm just going to wing it, but I will refer to the descriptions just to make sure that I'm not missing the intention of the actual cards here. So progressions are progressions in astrology are a timing technique that is used to predict when planets in your natal chart or in a composite chart or in synastry, when there will be activations of the energies of those planets. And so progressions have their own timing to them. Okay, so yeah, progressions, and then we've got the third house, which is the house of, as it says here, communication. It's the house also of siblings, neighbors, elementary learning, so sort of factual learning, anything to do with Mercury. So learning facts, figures, sort of learning like for example, as I was just saying, learning each individual card or each individual type of astrological phenomenon, learning all the details about each of those things is very much a third house endeavor. And the houses in astrology have their polarities. So the third house and the ninth house are opposite ends of a spectrum of an axis. And so this polarity is about the sort of factual learning. This polarity is about the synthesis and about higher learning, sort of putting things together in a philosophical, systemic synthesis. And so they both have connotations of travel. This would be sort of close by travel, and this would be exploration, as it says here. But let's stick on the side for now. So the energies of the third house are like sort of friends, networks. So you might find that you're in the energies of connecting, at a sort of friend level with lots of people. Or you might have things going on with siblings right now, or neighbors. And then, so progressions, it suggests that this has to do with a journey. Let's look this one up, and maybe it can shed a little bit of light on what the intention of the card is. I'm not sure, like in terms of a timing technique, progressions make sense to me, but I'm not sure if there's something else they're trying to pick out here. Progressions speak of the big sweeping arcs of karmic fate to your soul's journey. Your present situation may not make sense in the short term because it has more to do with big karmic patterns and how those intersect with the karmic patterns of the world's progress, and less to do with your daily existence. So stand back and look at your life's journey. Think of the years you engaged with the world and the years you needed time for more personal work. Consider making a timeline or painting this landscape to see where you are in those big sweeping patterns. This situation may feel fated, but the outcome is not predestined. Though you may feel uncomfortable, you always have a choice about how you respond and where you go. To help guide you in the moment, consider where you would like to be at the end of your life, a far distant point, and look back. Let this future become your lighthouse to guide you. Even though you may have to go around the rocks and work with the tides, let your lighthouse guide you. Challenge. The gift is trust the tides and set your own sails. And the challenge is, this is not a small obstacle or opportunity. This is part of a complex pattern. Every choice you make changes how it unfolds. Okay, so maybe what you need to unlearn is thinking too small. So maybe you are in these sort of third house energies of the day-to-day connections, and what you maybe need to be sort of pulling out. You need to be pulling out of that perspective and thinking backwards from where you want to end up in, let's say, in relationships. If you are pulling meanings out of this beyond that container that I set at the beginning, then feel free. Take what works and discard the rest. If it resonates, then go with it. But in respective relationships, maybe there's a call to sort of take a long range perspective and think back in terms of, where you are now and how you're going to get to that end point, and sort of what that path looks like. So I really like that idea of, imagine you're at that end goal and think back to where you are now and what are those steps that you took to get you there, and recognize that you're making choices every day that, steer you in one direction or another, and which can be cold comfort when you're facing difficulties, especially interpersonally, which is where it all comes up. But that's why I think this theme is coming to us. I love that I've completely avoided answering this question for myself, and now I'm turning it into a tarot reading, trying to offering guidance to others. But it's a very sort of clever avoidant technique at the same time. I mean, I'm reflecting on many things that one could say one needs to unlearn with, while skirting around the central question of what I need to unlearn. But I suppose that's part of why we engage in spirituality, isn't it? Spiritual bypassing. Okay, 6th house, sustainability. I hope you can hear the mirth in my voice as I sort of tease myself. I think it's quite... Minds are brilliant. Hearts are brilliant too. So this card is the 6th house. It says sustainability here, and that's a really lovely... We might go to the description for this one too, because that was profound and far-reaching, so to speak. So 6th house is the house of daily routines, work. So, not necessarily your soul calling work, but like the sort of work that you do day to day, the work that pays the bills, the work that you do to keep your house clean, caretaking, maybe not the caregiving aspect of caretaking, but the keeping the routines going aspect of caretaking. Which is a big part of caring for other humans, for example, or pets for that matter, or anyone else. And then through that caretaking, or through those, those daily habits, those good habits that we inculcate that take us through, ensuring the dishes are washed and the lunches are made and the laundry is folded, and, that we're taking care of our body, our physical body, and, that we're doing the things, like eating the right foods for breakfast, making sure we get protein for breakfast, ensuring that we get a little bit of the sweetness of life when we have our morning beverage, and that we're tending to our physical body and, engaging in healing activities or exercise, whatever things, bring healing for you. Ensuring that we're balancing all those chakras, well, in this direction actually. And you can see there's sort of a wheel of fortune chakra energy happening here, and your physical body, it is said that your body is, your temple, and I think if you really can resonate with that phrase for a second, it's true beyond just the, sort of cheesy idea that we all need to exercise or eat well and, or sleep well. And what it does refer to is the fact that we are in an incarnation, and we have this physical body right now. The physical body that you are in is your key to connection. It is your key to achieving whatever your soul is here to work on in this lifetime. And so if you can sustain your physical body with daily routines, with positive daily routines that support your health, then you're in a better position to go out into the world and to achieve whatever those soul growth gifts or purposes are that you're here for. And, so the care of those daily habits, does lead to sustainability. And I feel like I said that pretty well, but let's have a quick peek at the book. Work smarter, not harder. The opposite of a dysfunctional situation is a sustainable ecosystem. Make your life sustainable. Look at the time, resources, love, care, and sweat you put into your life, and assess whether you're putting as much in as you get out, and whether you're receiving as much as you put in. Worries can give the illusion that you're taking care of business, but might not further your goals. And you can create a beautiful and sustainable ecosystem out of your life as you pursue a delicious, healthy work-life balance. Okay, so you might be the one who, you know, is caretaking in this interpersonal interaction here. You might be the one who keeps those daily routines going and sort of, you know, is not propping up the relationship, but who is ensuring the connection is sustainable with, you know, those good daily habits, or, you know, not necessarily daily habits in the context of a relationship, but perhaps you find that you're in that role of, you know, tending to the things that feed the relationship. And it's possible that you're doing that as you're, you know, sort of in this mercurial, you know, I want to say almost surface level energies of connection. I don't mean surface level though, I mean a filial. What is the word for that? Like friendship based, sort of lateral connections. And perhaps there is a feeling to deepen in, and so that's where this, you know, looking at the progression in terms of where you want to be, and sort of feeling back to, you know, how can I tweak these daily habits? How can I, you know, what emphasis should I be placing in these sort of day-to-day connections with others? What are the choices that I'm making that are leading to, you know, the situation that I'm currently in, versus, you know, if where I want to be is beyond that situation. And I'm not passing any judgment, you know, maybe this is exactly where you want to be in your life right now. Maybe you've worked really hard to get here, in which case, you know, you're perhaps already at this card and you've, you know, taken steps to get yourself here. But maybe there's somewhere that you want to go next. And so this might be a call to sort of feel into where that might be. Ensure you're taking care of yourself along with others. Okay, and then over here, we've got relationship with 7th house. The 7th house is the house of relationships. But there are different houses. I mean, all the houses, I think, can kind of sort of come back to one type of relationship or another. So this is referring specifically to the relationships that we think of when we say the word relationship, being contractual relationships. So relationships that bind us with another person, sort of in the long term. And so that can refer to business relationships, you know, anything involving a contract. It can refer to something like a marriage or a commitment to another person. And it can also refer to, it's interesting, I think, that relationships tend to, so it is specifically, I'd say, romantic relationships that have, you know, that potent spark that can go wrong sometimes. And so the 7th house is also the house of open enemies, as opposed to hidden enemies, which is the 12th house. But the 7th house is, you know, where we might find some problematic energies. And so, you know, if you're partnered with someone who's got planets in your 7th house, then, you know, it does seem to be the case in our contemporary era that the things that drew us together, you know, often become the subjects of, you know, if a relationship ends, there can be sort of, the energies are just as intense coming out of the relationship as they were going in, except it's the other polarity. And so the 7th house can be really lovely, you know, energies of committing to another, getting more deeply into relationship. It can also refer to, you know, coming back out of a relationship on the other side. Let's see if the book would like to elucidate that. Nurture your relationships rather than test them. So maybe that's something you've had to unlearn. Consider each partnership to be a tree you plant. And so the seed may have been planted in the 5th house with an idea or a twinkle in the eye. Now you have a sapling with potential. Don't construct a tree house on that sapling. It can't yet bear the weight. Instead of crushing it with expectations, nurture and protect it. And so in any relationship, there are 3 involved: you, your partner, and that tree, the relationship itself, which all have needs that must be honored equally. Challenge. It can be tempting to give your power away to your partner, whether business or love, or to take over their power, and an unbalanced relationship can become untenable. Gift. Fertilize the ground of your partnership. Feed your partner with romantic moments and fair and honorable arrangements. When you are fascinated by the spirit of another, they can become fascinated with you. That's true enough. So perhaps the thing to unlearn there is the temptation to either take power from another or to give our power away in relationship. And so if this is, if we're looking at your person over here, then it's possible that you might take all of this as having to do with you. But if we're sort of going with the division that just kind of fell into place here, I was actually planning to move this card over here. So again, things happen for a reason. I just sort of pulled cards around it, and here we are with a bit of a division. So if this is your person, then it's possible that your person might be reflecting on, nurturing relationships, nurturing the relationship between you, deepening into connection, boundaries and limits associated with a deeper connection with another person. They might be the one who, needs to be mindful of keeping their expectations in check, or it's possible that they are meditating on and or acting out patterns of, power dynamics in relationships, whether taking power or giving power away. If any of that resonates with you, I suspect it'll be different for different people accessing this reading. And we are doing a general reading here, but, it might be that some of those themes are on your person's mind. But it does look like there is definitely some partnership energy, I'd say, in these cards. And it's really interesting. I didn't think that pulling non-tarot cards would get me to the same kind of answers, but I am seeing partnership energy here because we've got the 7th house with relationship and the 9th house with exploration. And as I was saying, this is the higher polarity of this mercurial 3rd house energies at the other side of the axis between the 3rd and the 9th house. And so, there's sort of a pull over here. So it's sort of like this one wants to become this one. And if this one becomes, too much in the systems, the systemic nature of things or the philosophy behind how things work, or, rather than anything fact-based, it's possible, to get sort of up in your head and be a little too airy about connections, especially. And so maybe there is a call back over to the side of the polarity, back into, the sort of day-to-day connecting with another person, or a community of people. The 9th house, I sort of envision philosophers in their offices and universities, priests in their, wherever priests hang out. Sorry, that's a bit of a lacuna in my own knowledge. In the back of the church. The rectory, is that a place where priests hang out? It's a word I know, but not very well. Yeah, and then, but what I was seeing here is, the 9th house in relation to the 7th house. Perhaps there's an exploration of 7th house themes that this person is feeling, or is, sort of leaning into or wanting to lean into. Over here we've got Ceres with nurture. The Ceres is I believe that's the Roman name for Demeter, which would be the Greek name. And so Demeter, of course, is the mother of Persephone, and the reason for the seasons, because her daughter left her, was abducted. There's different takes on that myth, but in essence, it's about kids growing up and then parents grieving and having to let go, and in the end she makes a deal and lets go for 6 months of the year, and that's when we have winter, when she's sad and her daughter's gone underground to live with Hades. And then the other 6 months of the year her daughter is up above ground and we have spring and summer. And so Ceres is about nurturance. It is the name of an asteroid, which is just about planet-sized, I believe, or it's one of the larger asteroids in any event, one of the first discovered. And I think it's comparable to Pluto in size, although don't quote me on that. And so Ceres has an energy of nurturance. She's represented by wheat, and I see there's a scythe here as well, representing the idea of time, cycles of the earth, harvest. And so it's possible that I don't know if we want to talk in terms of something that your person has to unlearn, but it's possible that your person is sort of in these, seventh house nurturing energies, or that you're thinking of them that way, maybe even, and that there's a call to explore, sort of deepen into that energy. So, and yeah, it's a very lovely energy. I'm feeling sort of someone who's there. I'm getting someone who's there through this side of the cards. And over here I'm getting, your energy is sort of more like, do I want to make a shift into this realm? Or, am I happy with my daily routines, my, circle of friends? But, maybe there is somewhere that I want to get to eventually, and so I need to sort of possibly consider making shifts. Maybe what we have to unlearn is our attachment to the way life currently is, if we want to end up somewhere different than where we are right now. And maybe you do, maybe you don't. No judgment over here, but I am getting the sense that there might be a person for you who is kind of provoking some of those questions. And yeah, so let's pull a couple cards just to look at the energy between the two of you, sticking with our theme of person A, person B. And you might also, if it feels like this is your person and this is you, then, of course, fair enough, and you can reverse the cards. I'm just sharing with you what the intention that came to me as. So we'll see. The thing is, by pulling more Astro cards, whatever the energy is between you will by definition be different than the energies of either of you has laid out so far, because astrology doesn't really have much repetition. We've got South Node. That is a cool looking card. I haven't seen that one before. And we've got, oh goodness, I'm gonna just take that first card, let the other ones go back in. So that's trine, sextile, symbiosis. I think we need one more clarifier for that. Just one more card. Okay, cool. Okay. All right, so the cards linking your energies between your person and you. I don't know why I've laid them out backwards, but we pulled South Node, which is past. So the South Node is, in terms of relationships, and individually, it can be a karma aspect. The South Node is another polarity, like many things are in astrology, and the converse side is the North Node. The North Node is your soul's destiny in this lifetime. It is where you are going. It's where you're trying to get to. And depending on how the other planets are dispersed in your chart, that journey can be more or less difficult, just based on your astrological chart. And then, of course, there's what you do with your chart throughout your lifetime, which is not defined by the chart necessarily, although progressions can have a lot to do with that, in terms of activations of certain energies at certain times, at pivotal moments. In any event, those pivotal moments are they're sort of where you might be accessing your North Node kind of destiny in this lifetime. The South Node is the other side of the axis, and because Western society tends to be very progress-oriented, there is quite an emphasis on the North Node, and, we sort of think of the North Node as being the good side of the polarity, whereas the South Node is the less good side, so-called. But the thing about the South Node, there is nothing inherently good or inherently bad in astrology, in my opinion. That is definitely a controversial statement, especially for traditional astrologers or even Vedic astrologers. But the South Node is, to my mind, it is an axis. So with the North Node over here, the South Node is what you have mastered in past lifetimes or earlier in this lifetime. And so it's the lessons that you have been able to synthesize into your being. And it's the things that come naturally to you. It's the familiar. It's what just feels very innate, and it's your gifts. So the South Node, in my opinion, is sort of the foundation upon which you can springboard over to that destiny, that uncomfortable, unfamiliar, new energies of the North Node that, are definitely not something that you feel at ease with. The North Node is an uncomfortable place to be and to grow into. But when you make those North Node supporting decisions in your life, that's when things really tend to flow. Whereas if you just stay over in the South Node, you might start to feel a bit stagnant. That can be those Kundalini energies that, sometimes really need to shift, and sometimes we need that spark to get it going. And so South Node in relationship can refer to lifetimes, spent in partnership with another person. It's possible that you and your partner have done this all before. It's possible that you're very, very strongly connected, and that, they feel so familiar to you, just kind of natural, and that you feel natural to them. It's possible that you are coming in with some karmic baggage. So you might have, sort of recurring issues or patterns that have played out before and that are very triggering. Sort of instantly triggering. This can be, twin flame energy, soulmate energy. It can refer to relationships that are just karmic, that, they happen, they trigger us, and then we move into a place of healing that would not have happened but for that, triggering relationship. And, it's possible that a soul contract was made to come together in that moment, at that particular phase of life, so that each of you could be sort of spurred on to the next thing and not necessarily together. Possibly together though. And then here, I would say with these other energies, there is a strong indication of a harmonious playing out of this South Node energy. So I'd say we're looking more at the sort of familiar side of things, the comfortable, like the South Node is a springboard into the rest of your journey, rather than the kind of more karmic triggering possibilities that it could hold, because we've got trine or sextile with symbiosis. Symbiosis, of course, is the energies of, two things or multiple things sort of fusing and becoming one thing. And so that in combination with South Node just suggests a really strong link. Along with these cards over here, like I'm sensing a very strong link between you and this person, like a comfortable, flowing, easy, harmonious connection between you. And so if that resonates, then great. Symbiosis would be sort of that, that not necessarily conscious, but it could very much be conscious, sort of decision to come together, as two disparate things and then partner essentially and become, one entity, whether that be a family or it could be a business partnership. It could be the fusion that one feels with one's art, for some people. It could be, stages of connection with your higher self. Maybe that you're working through some South Node sort of familiar issues, and then that you're, able to sort of feed those into harmonious aspects or relations in other parts of your life. And then we get over to Jupiter, and all of this is very much accentuated by the Jupiterian energies. So Jupiter is abundance, and abundance suggests harvest and plenty, and Jupiter is very much those things. Jupiter can also just be a sort of embellishing energy or sort of aggrandizing energy. I don't mean that that came out sounding very egoic, but I mean it makes things bigger. Jupiter makes things bigger. So if there is something karmic or triggering, let's pretend we didn't have this card here, it's possible that those energies could be made bigger by Jupiter appearing here. But I would say in this case that we're looking at just a really lovely energy of something very familiar that is flowing harmoniously in abundance. And so that's those are, I'd say, in combination, 3 very beautiful cards to pull in a connection. So going back to something you've had to unlearn, maybe the thing that you have to unlearn with the South Node here especially, you know, maybe it's too easy. Maybe there's a little bit of, you know, reliance on, or, you know, codependence even. Maybe you sort of lean very heavily into those partnership energies when maybe there's another, you know, maybe there's daily habits that need to be tended to, or maybe there are other connections in life or daily learning that needs to be, or a goal that you want to get to, you know, by the end of your life, let's say, or within a defined time frame. Maybe you've got, you know, other things that you want to be focusing on, and maybe this relationship is sort of drawing you in with its just ease and comfort, and, you know, maybe that's something, you know, sometimes ease itself is something we need to unlearn. Looks pretty lovely to me though. Looks very supportive and nurturing. So let's just continue on our journey here. We'll keep our main significator card. I'll put away the Astro deck. I think we're good with that one. Never say never. And maybe we will pull some tarot. I'm going to go Kim Krantz on this one. And at the risk of getting in too deep with cards that I have trouble tracing back to the Rider-Waite, because I'm not quite there. I think I have a better handle on Rider-Waite at least than the last time I attempted this deck. But the part that tripped me up was I was so nervous in that first reading that I was attempting to sort of think back to what the court cards were, because in this one there are mothers and daughters, and I was like, wait a second, there are no mothers and daughters in Rider-Waite, and of course that's the point. That's why people rewrite the tarot. But I sort of jumped into the deep end of the pool last time I used this deck, and so we'll just give it another go. See if it's still feeling a bit beyond in terms of complexity. Oh, okay, these cards are just that little bit too big for my hands for that shuffle. Okay, let's get some tarot cards. So what are the energies for the collective in terms of things interpersonally that they need to be unlearning? Going for the jugular here. Okay, so I'm actually gonna move this one to the side now, and we'll pull some cards. We'll pull a row, and then we'll get some clarifies. I'm immediately, you know, feeling reactive to this wee little gosling or whatever creature that is being next to all this broken glass. So maybe there's already a lesson there for not exposing vulnerability to shattering, the energies of shatter. What was that one? The Eight of Cups. These cards are also a bit, I will say they're a little bit dark in energy. And so I wondered in that last reading that I used them if I had cleared them properly beforehand. And so I did actually spend some time making sure that they were well shuffled when I put them away. There we go. Oh dear, we got a bunch. Okay, I'm gonna just take the top one of those because I wasn't planning to pull too many more for that row. Maybe we'll pull one more for that row. So tell us about something that our collective accessing this reading has had to unlearn. What has that the collective? What has the collective had to unlearn in relationship? right at that moment, the candle burned out. We got a goat. I'm into it. Oh, it's the devil. That is not the goat I would choose to represent the devil. I feel like it should be a much more saucy goat than an old billy goat. But in any event, sorry. Okay, so now we'll pause on that and get some clarifiers after. So we've got the Eight of Cups. The Eight of Cups is the energy of turning away from abundance, would be my way of phrasing it, paraphrasing it. So in this image, we've got, you can't really even see what abundance there might be in this situation. There's just ruin, essentially. But, you know, there is a tall mountain here in the sense of some depth, you know, so it's possible that this mountain has been constructed within the relationship and you know, and that it's at, I don't know, I don't want to say the mountain's going to topple, but it's possible that there is some energy of just neglecting what has been built up. So, you know, maybe there is a message in those previous Astro cards about tending the relationship. So maybe what needs to be unlearned is just kind of assuming things will go on as they have been without tending. And maybe there's a bit of tending that needs to happen to ensure that these, you know, delicate wine glasses aren't shattering, you know, as things sort of, I mean, staving off entropy is how I want to put it. Perhaps the lesson that needs to be unlearned is just the yielding to entropy, and entropy needs to actually be actively staved off. Or alternatively, you know, there might be a message here for some of you that maybe you're done with those cups and maybe you do want to be walking away. But I'll leave that as it's not the main energy that I'm getting here. It's more like a message of tending, especially with this Daughter of Cups right here. So Daughter of Cups, I believe, is the Page of Cups, but it's represented here by this, you know, wee tiny gosling or duckling. I'm hearing gosling. I don't know if that's scientifically accurate, but that's what I'm hearing. And then we've got, you know, some rainbow energies, just suggesting vulnerability, suggesting, you know, this is someone who's meant to be in the water but is new to the water and is, you know, learning by following mama around, most likely. Just kind of laying those patterns of emotional souciance. For a hot minute there, I was censoring out all the big words that were coming into my brain, and my brain is full of big words, and it is actually kind of nice to not censor them. And you know, if that's a barrier to understanding what the hell I'm talking about, then I apologize. But you know, there is such a vast repository of thought, like centuries and centuries and millennia, like, you know, in my opinion, tens of thousands of, you know, years of human thought that has been encapsulated and crystallized into the language of English today, or any language. And I think studying languages is studying the history of thought, which I definitely enjoy. I find it quite fascinating. In any event, here we are, Daughter of Cups. So, you know, she's getting her bearings, and she is just starting to figure out, you know, what her reflection is, what her beautiful, beautiful reflection is in this watery realm that she is sort of predestined to be a part of. And so it might be that there's something that ends and then just a very tender new beginning. That's one possibility. It might be a phase that's ended and a, you know, tender new phase of being more emotionally vulnerable that we're entering into here. It's possible that what is being unlearned is, you know, that sort of lack of tending, forgetting to give care. And so with starting, you know, routines of care, routines of tending, whether that's tending a relationship, tending, you know, the ancestor's grave, whether it's engaging in those daily caretaking, you know, pieces of just ensuring the counters are clean and the dishes are done, you know, and sort of creating a harmonious household in that way. It does seem like that's creating the container for this sort of new experience of feelings, emotions, intuition, like just the beginning of that feeling journey. And then we've got the Six of Pentacles. Six of Pentacles, Six of Pentacles. I'm going to look that up because I'm blanking on the Rider-Waite version of that. Prosperity, growth, generosity. Oh yes, that's the laurel wreath man on horseback. Six Pentacles indicates that your long-awaited fruits are ready for harvesting, bringing more wealth than anticipated. Make sure you are generous during this bountiful time. This card can also signify generosity coming from someone else. If this is the case, accept the help with grace and put the resources to good use. So this is a card of bounty and plenty, success, victory, and so if there's some kind of shift that happens over here, then it does seem like there's, that unlearning has been done, and then there's this new opening to vulnerability, I want to say, which is going to lead to an experience of plenty and just, starting to feel rooted. The fruit is growing. So there's like quite a dramatic shift in stages, I would say here. I was about to say timelines, if that resonates. But in any event, it does seem like there's a progression from one phase to another that, might not be as quick as, going from one card to the next. It's possible this might play out over a period of time. We've got the Mother of Swords, so some Queen of Swords energy. The Queen of Swords I have pulled in every reading I've done, I think, for this channel. At least in one of the piles. And so she is the energy of discernment, of distilling things down to their essences, of supporting what the heart does with what the brain is able to sort of pick out and cognize and synthesize. And so this one's looking directly at us, suggesting a present focus. And it's a wise owl, a wise-looking owl, who looks like she doesn't miss a thing, and she's a hunter as well. She's ready to strike if need be, and you get the sense that she is going to hold on to that sword until the opportune moment, if that arises, and she wouldn't hesitate to strike if need be, but she would also be very discerning about whether that's called for or necessary. And so it's possible that you're facing a call to be very discerning about, if you've got this energy just sort of starting to grow. Maybe there's an element here of needing to protect that, of, creating that container, keeping that container safe, and just being vigilant a little bit about any possible threats to it that might be coming from outside. And, having the willingness to deal with them. Maybe those threats are what your own mind does with a situation. Maybe there's something to unlearn in terms of your own patterns, or, again, maybe we're going back to this lack of tending idea. So the Mother of Swords would be tending in her own fierce way by creating a container around and protecting. And then over here we've got the Devil. And I'm just going to look up this particular devil. Where are the court cards? Here we go. Addiction, negativity. Though it may feel frightening when the devil appears in your reading, this card carries an urgent message and must be interpreted with total honesty. The darkness of the devil card takes the form of addiction, negativity, or materialism. It can indicate an ugly relationship with a person or substance. Identify this dependency and how it's holding you back. The devil's hooves are strong and relentless. Their grip will not loosen unless a conscious change is made. Free yourself. Okay, so that's I think the devil generally does tend to bring up, negative connotations in tarot readings. But I feel like there are more meanings to it than just the you know, the message of having to do an about face. I also feel like, especially in terms of interpersonal energies, it can refer to, we mentioned earlier, you know, possible codependency. So it's possible to be addicted to a person. It's possible to be addicted to our patterns. It's possible to be addicted to a substance or to, you know, what the devil card sort of traditionally means is, you know, going into that bacchanal state of just losing yourself in revelry and, you know, partying too much, for example, in modern parlance. It can mean obsession. It can mean becoming too fixated on a particular outcome. Well, you know, and generally the chains of the devil, you know, in the Rider-Waite, there's two people who are in chains, but you get the sense that they could just lift those chains off their own necks if they so chose. And so there's kind of an idea of self-enslavement to one's addictions, or, you know, to one's pleasure-seeking behaviors that might not be serving. So the devil does call for a reevaluation of, you know, a course of action. And so, you know, if going back to the astrology cards, if there is an element of codependency or just sort of something being too comfortable, then it's possible that this devil card is a warning to just beware of, you know, being pulled too deeply into that connection. Maybe what needs to be unlearned is the tendency to cling, the attachment to the connection, or, you know, some other type of dependency that might be playing itself out within the relationship. Let's get some clarifier cards. That one did pop out as I was mentioning the devil, but my intention was to go in order, so we'll start there. So we're looking for clarifiers for the messages of the first row. Looking for a clarifier for the Six of Cups, or sorry, the Six of Pentacles. Clarifier for the Six of Pentacles. There we go. I was having trouble at first. It's been so many years since I'd really taken a look at the suit, or at this deck, that I was having trouble even making out the suits at first. They seem clear enough now. It's funny how 2 weeks can elapse and you can feel better at something. Okay, one more. Ooh, that dude looks very cool. Okay, clarifier for the devil. Clarifying the devil card. Okay. All right. So what are we unlearning here? So we've got the Two of Wands. The Two of Wands are usually the beginning of a venture. And so if there's something that's been turned away from with the Eight of Cups, some kind of sort of past abundance that is not resonating currently, then, you know, the Two of Wands might be the beginning of that new journey. You know, the Wands suggest passion. It's possible that with the two, you know, this turning away is leading to this new, you know, it looks like a path even, that perhaps there's no figure in this card, but I imagine a figure because that's what's traditional for the Eight of Cups. So perhaps that figure is going to be, you know, walking down this path which looks like it goes off into infinity. And maybe that's where we find this turning to the energies of the Daughter of Cups. So that sort of nascent journey into feeling one's feelings that sometimes, you know, if you're over here in these energies, it's really hard to, I mean, that's exactly what you're turning away from. This is sort of the card of avoidance. And then, you know, maybe there's a shift and a desire to make something more of life than, you know, shattered wine glasses. And so that's maybe, you know, this is the the ginger first steps down that path, and then finding oneself immersed in those energies of, this could be like a meditation path as well, or it could be just opening the floodgates and letting somebody in, and allowing oneself to be vulnerable. Maybe there's really a resonance between these cards with the rainbow. This sort of rainbow energy seems to be reflecting in and supporting the Daughter of Cups here. And then we've got the Seven of Pentacles. So the Seven of Pentacles, my understanding was sort of what the description for the 6 had to say. So the 7 is like, you're almost there. You've been tending, you've been protecting, you've been ensuring that, your bush of pentacles has everything that it needs to grow, and it's just almost ready for harvest, but not quite there. So it can be a card of patience, of waiting. It can refer to material abundance, or the abundance of the earth, prosperity, and then we seem to be sort of going backwards up to the 6 of Cups. But I will say that, this looks like they're about to go pling, pling, pling. It's like a pachinko machine. And whereas this one is looking a lot more appetizing and organic. And so, maybe there's some material abundance here, but there's sort of nurturing abundance in this 6 of Pentacles. Would be the best that I can do with that in this moment. Let me just check the guidebook and see if it has additional wisdom. Prosperity, growth, generosity, long-awaited fruits are ready for harvesting. Right, and then with the 7, period of contemplation. You're looking back at all your hard work and wondering if it has been a failure or a success. You can't seem to decide. Shouldn't you be reaping more rewards by now? Maybe so, but the mind has control over perception. It's possible your rewards are waiting for you to recognize them. They are not always monetary. So if this is the card of waiting, then this is, it does seem like perhaps that should be the 7 and this should be the 6, frankly. But this, the 6s do tend to have to do with prosperity and reaching the end of a harvest journey, like being at the stage of harvesting. The 7 energy is about waiting. So, possibly there's this journey has been undertaken, and then there's just that little bit more waiting, and then we find ourselves at the 6, enjoying the prosperity of it all. And then we've got the 6 of Wands, and that's such a curiously different card that I feel called to. Oh, that's not the 6 of Wands at all. I think I made that same mistake in the first reading. This is the 6 of Swords. Yeah, see, it's tricky. I can see they've got little hilts, but it's very subtle. Okay, 6 of Swords, hope at last, travel. So this is the mother journeying with her child, being ferried across the river. I imagine it to be the river Styx, but I'm not sure if that's because I first learned tarot from a very witchy Norse deck when I was 14 years old. But in any event, this is intended to be a recovery from difficult times, a time of rest, revitalization, surrounding oneself with joyful friends, travel, so, travel over water can be indicated, and sort of getting to a better place, getting to safety, short or long trips. So maybe after this, this sort of intense journey of awakening to vulnerability, then there's a bit of a waiting period, then there's a bit of a harvest, and then there's some kind of movement that happens here with the 6 of Swords. So there's a prompt to move the energies forward, or to even go on a physical journey, and maybe that's what brings us over to the discernment of the Mother of Swords. So perhaps that journey, getting out to a distant horizon, is what gives us the perspective to be able to apply discernment to who's going to share in our prosperity now. We've got to be discerning about that. Then we've got the Father of Pentacles, so that would be the King of Pentacles. That king is a master of the material realm. He's got everything that he could possibly need or want, and he has, you know, sort of done it. He's worked up to it, and he is just rife with abundance. The card in Rider-Waite is, you know, there's a whole lot of grapes, and grapes are a symbol of fertility, fecundity, just prosperity. And so here we've got the stag, and it's a rainbow stag, and it is suggesting that this, you know, who's the king of the forest? Is it the lion or is it the stag, you know, who knows every little path and the ins and outs and is able to elude the hunters and keep the species going, and, you know, knows how to get any sort of abundance that is required to support his journey or those of his loved ones. And then back over to the devil. So perhaps, you know, when there's a mastery of Pentacles energy, of sort of material wealth, or, you know, those gifts of the earth, maybe we can take that for granted, or, you know, it's possible that we sort of enjoy our plenty and then we end up in a bit of a devil position of having enjoyed a little too much. And so after that there is a call to rest, and you know, we've got 4 threatening swords hanging over this little lamb, and the little lamb is obviously a figure from religious iconography, whose name I don't think we need to say out loud. But, you know, there's strong positive connotations of that figure here, I would say. And, you know, the indication is that this lamb is a spiritual leader and is in a place of rest, a place where it can repose. So, you know, after pushing it too hard, maybe there's a call to rest here. And so how this plays out interpersonally, maybe there's a lesson here in going too deeply into partnership energies or into experiences that one likes to indulge in with a partner, whether that be, you know, going on a vacation, whether it be going on a bender, you know, enjoying a night in together. You know, possibly there's an element of overindulgence there, or sinking too much into those energies. And then there's sort of a time of replenishment that's called for afterwards. And so maybe what you need to unlearn is going too much into excess. I mean, we've got excess over here and we've got excess over here. And in between there's, you know, some quite potent energies that seem, you know, without absent those 2 cards, or this one even, it would look like a really lovely, you know, connection reading. But because we started out with the 8 of Cups, it does look like there's a false note in there somewhere. There's something that's just a little bit amiss, a little bit askew. And so, but it's possible that is what kicks off this journey of self-discovery, or, you know, maybe this is this journey of self-discovery of the relationship itself. Maybe the relationship needs to unlearn its, maybe there's an energy of avoidance within the relationship, an avoidance of connecting, an avoidance of emotions, or, you know, discussing or feeling feelings, and maybe that needs, you know, someone to hold space for it and allow for a deeper connection with the wilds of the human psyche, or the wilds that are, you know, interpersonal, relating with another person, you know, and just be cautious of getting a little too excessive with whether that be enjoying yourselves together, or whether it be sort of, you know, the energies of getting testy with another person. It's possible that there's some kind of conflict, or, you know, a tendency to end up in conflict that maybe can lead to these broken cups over here. And what is called for is rest, is replenishment, is going back to those 6th house in the astrology cards, you know, maybe there's just a call to take care of the body, ensure there's been enough sleep, enough food, you know, that you're supporting your immune system with your, you know, daily dose of chaga mushrooms or what have you, your morning cacao, or, you know, just taking care of, like, ensuring that you've got good routines in place so that you can support your body and be able to show up for, you know, the day-to-day routines or the partnership, and you know, be exercising discernment in ways that benefit you and benefit the connection, perhaps. So yeah, I think we might pull just a last couple of cards. Can I clear the tarot here? I think I might switch decks for this one. Yeah, I think we might pull. I just did Sacred Rebel yesterday, but I think we might just pull one Sacred Rebel card to see ourselves off this evening. So I hope this has been helpful. I hope you've, you know, had a bit of a focus on something that you would like to unlearn. Looks like that might have to do with pushing things a little too hard, you know, being prone to excess. Perhaps there's, you know, arguments with someone else that need to be toned down. And, you know, just be mindful of that little gosling. Don't break your wine glasses when there's tiny goslings around that, you know, they need a nurturing container in order to explore those watery depths, in order to be accessing the rainbows of their reflection, and, you know, undertaking the journey that is, you know, the miracle of interpersonal relating, which it's such a gift to, I don't want to say fuse with another person, because that's, you know, something that can happen in relationship and it can be really lovely and beautiful, but even just sitting across from a person, you know, looking into the eyes of another person, having that moment of connection, whether it's a fleeting moment, you know, whether you're in a workshop together, you know, paired up for a brief time period in a container, or whether it's just like a spontaneous moment of just hanging out and, you know, sharing a smile or a laugh or a conversation, you know, looking up ridiculous memes on the internet together, or whatever it happens to be. You know, there's something about meeting another person's eyes. And I say this, I've said this, you know, I say this almost as a lecture to people. And I just really, I will say it, I've probably said it before already in the 2 weeks of this channel, and I will say it probably 1,000 times again. You know, look at that. Beautiful. That's a lovely place to end the reading. And that, wow, that completely distracted me away from my soapbox, but what I was going to say is, it is am I allowed to swear in these readings? It is a dramatically emphasized miracle of creation that we exist on this earth at the same time as the other humans that we come across in our day-to-day path. Like, if you really start breaking that down, you know, if you think about what has had to happen to get you and your person into a situation where you met, if you start thinking, if you break that down into all of the synchronicities that had to happen in order for you to end up in the same place at the same time, meeting each other's eyes, you know, it's just so astronomically improbable. If you start, you know, there's your life and there's their life, there's the butterfly effect, there's all the things that would have had to have happened in your lifetimes to get you there. But if you go back further than that, you know, if that great 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 grandmother of yours hadn't winked at that great grandfather, not great grandfather, great 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 grandfather, if there hadn't been a hoedown in the dust that night, if the banjo player had gotten sick and wasn't able to play, I'm specifically thinking of Back to the Future 3 right now, if perhaps, there was, like, if that, person who ended up birthing generations that led to you or led to your person, if that person had, died of polio while they were an infant, I don't know, I'm trying to reach further back than a couple centuries back, but, there was a bubonic plague in Europe, and I'm sure around the world, many centuries ago, and the world lost, I believe, something like a third of its population at that time, and I'm sure that was a regularly recurring event around the globe before the time of vaccines. Let's not go there tonight. But in any event, modern science, creating the container for future generations to connect with their people. Maybe not, who knows. In any event, so if you start adding in the universe and like just the chances of humanity existing at all, and the probabilities of the earth existing and revolving around the sun existing, you get my point. So you can just take it further back and further back and further back, and the further back you take it, the more your mind will be blown that you and this person have managed to be in the same place at the same time, in a time where you're able to even notice each other or be aware of each other, never mind connect, speak to each other and meet each other's eyes, take it from there. And so I just think that people, and like, in order for that to happen, you both have to be alive at the same time in history, and that's pretty improbable. If you just break it down even that far, like, you both have to be alive. Like, one of you has to not have died in infancy or before now. And it's just, it blows my mind how much we take each other for granted. So, if you find yourself, if there is an interpersonal conflict going on in your life, maybe dial it back and just think about what has led you there. And I don't mean, like the ins and outs of the drama that have gotten you to the conflict. I mean, what brought you to this person? What brought you together? Like, what are the things that had to flow together in order to encounter each other? What is this encounter about? How did you get here? Profound thoughts tonight. For me, I feel like I don't know that I've had to unlearn taking people for granted. I mean, I guess we all take people for granted all of the time, especially our mothers. Shout out to the mothers. Call your mother. Don't take your mother for granted, or, other significant caregiver in your life. Whether that be father, grandparent, aunt, uncle, beloved, friend of your mother, older sibling, etc., etc. And just, I don't know, cultivate a sense of gratitude about the astronomical number of synchronicities that had to come together for you to connect with your person, even just for a moment, even just for, a meeting. And if you've been involved in, like a relationship of decades, and, that needs to shift even, just sinking into the appreciation of how that came to be, even like when you're eating, there's that meditation when you're eating, let's say, a grape, and you feel the grape and you smell the grape, and then eventually you put the grape on your tongue and feel the texture of it, and then you break the skin and you taste the juice. And, like, if you think about what brought that grape to you, somebody had to go and get that grape from a vine. Somebody else, probably packed that grape into a truck and preserved it. You know, somebody invented the cooling system that brought it to your grocery store. Maybe you plucked it from your own grapevine, in which case you know exactly what went into that grape. But do you know who invented that type of grape, that who laid down the irrigation system that allowed you to water that grape? Do you know what I'm saying? Like, there's so many human gestures that have had to align for you to enjoy the company of, your human. And I love looking into the eyes of big, bold vision as I say this. Because, just encountering another person is a big, bold vision all into itself. I'm going to read out this card and then we're going to call it. And maybe we just end with unlearning taking for granted. And I'm not saying that, people should stay with things that are not working if they feel a call to shift. But I am saying that I think it's a good starting point for any interpersonal connection is to realize that we do take things for granted. And, those are common heuristics. Like, our brains would explode if we were thinking about that level of detail in all moments about all things. We just could not focus. And so the human brain does elide most of the information that comes into it in order to be able to focus on what is in front of us and, get through those daily habits and get through the day. And that is as it should be. But it is also worth, pulling back out. We're calling that progression card, sort of pulling back out and taking that, I want to say high-rise perspective, but, that sort of bird's eye view. Neither of these is what I mean. I mean the perspective of looking, imagining what that goal is that you want to accomplish within your lifetime, and then looking back down to where you are now. And if that's something interpersonal between you and your person, then it is worth seeing that and seeing, again, those are all the synchronicities that have to come together in order to get to that goal. And, you might want to start putting your energy towards supporting that, nurturing that, and inviting in all of those other, factors that do have to align in order to reach a goal with another human, whatever that may be, and without being attached, without being other people are the wild cards in our lives. That's where the zag comes in when you're zigging. And in any event, okay, that is enough profundity for tonight. Big bold vision, you were not born. I say enough profundity just as I launch into this card, which is my favorite card of this deck. And I believe the first one that I ever encountered from this deck. You were not born to play a small role in life. You have the ability to dream big. Even if you have absolutely no idea about how your visions can come to pass or what all the details may look like, you can access the heart and guts of a vision by tapping into your wildest dreams and surrendering attachment to exactly how it will all work out. The details are up to the creative genius of the universe. You are which is, I take that sometimes as a summary for, again, all of those synchronicities that had to align in order for a particular situation to come into being. And, that moment, like maybe you've had that moment of meeting someone for the first time and, looking into their eyes for the first time and having no idea, maybe you did, maybe you didn't, of the significance, that person will have in your life in the years to come. But having, a recognition, a moment of recognition. And, I feel like the creative genius of the universe it's like a shorthand for summing that up to my mind, as well as, something palpable that I believe is playing out because, it may be impossible from the perspective of human heuristics to hold all moments and all synchronicities in one's brain at the same time. We can have a felt sense of that, and if there was a big enough intelligence, certainly that intelligence could map out all of those things like a chess game. And so perhaps the creative genius of the universe is the summary of that level of, that high level of pre-planning by some kind of alive, knowing universe. But in any event, it can also be a shorthand for the sum of all of the little parts that got you here. Okay, you are an active, contributing participant, but not the sole player in your life journey. There is something, a vision or an idea, that is coming to you. You may worry that it is too much for you, but don't worry, it is meant to be yours. Although you might have some adjustments to make and some tweaking to do as you let go of your limited thinking and open up to a fearless acceptance of bigger, brighter, more radical, and more potent possibilities of creatively living your light in the world. A sign that you are cracking out of your limited thinking to allow for a big, bold vision to come to you is that you might feel a little dizzy with the shrinking limitations and expanding possibilities of life. You may wonder if you are allowed to access so much wonder. Remember that in your healing and growing success, as you manifest this big vision, you can touch the hearts of others through your presence, your inner work, your art, and your choices. It is a win-win situation. Those that are meant to live big, bold, and visionary lives need to give themselves permission to break the mold and forge newer, more expansive perspectives of what is possible, what is permitted, and what is of service. It's about letting go and opening up. Others will benefit from this. Even though it is your vision, it is not just about you. You are being asked to remember that when something is right for you, endless synchronicities and support will flow your way at the right time and in the right way. Stay open, receptive, playful, and surrendered. This oracle brings you a message. You are about to receive or be invited to become part of a grand visionary beginning. It has the makings of something fantastic. No matter how the journey that brings this vision into reality unfolds, and there will be some twists and turns that you don't see coming, it is still helpful for you to be open to it. Trust your heart, be still with your choices, and when the time feels right and truthful, leap. This oracle brings a message for those who would like to further develop their intuitive sight. It is already happening. Trust in what you perceive. Even if it conflicts with what everyone else around you is saying or the surface of things, trust your inner perceptions. They are accurate and will be proven to be so later on. The healing process below will help you with this also. This oracle brings a general message of positive energy. Trust that things will be coming up roses for you. Even if everything seems to be in a bit of a shambles now, it's really just the essential mess before a truly spectacular success. Don't play small, my friends. That's what you need to unlearn. And with that, we are going to end. I hope this has been helpful. I hope you're as mesmerized as I am by the eyes of this card. There's so much beautiful symbolism baked into this card. And it just feels like it's sort of pulsating and resonating every time I look at it. She's pretty. And with that, I bid you good night or good day, whatever time it happens to be for you. Please consider liking, subscribing, leaving a comment. It all helps the algorithm, which helps me grow the channel. And if you have found this helpful, then that would be a really lovely energy exchange. If you have others that you can spread the word to about this channel, if you feel like there's something hot going on here, then please do. And I really want to be able to, I haven't really felt such a clear call to share something that could potentially be of service up until now. And I just got the call and I responded right away and, leapt in before I really had any idea what I was doing. Still don't have much of an idea, but I have a big, bold vision, and may it carry us through, my friends. All of us together. All right. Let me know in the comments what you've had to unlearn and, where you're at in that journey and how it's serving you and how you might see it serving others as you lift yourself up and lift others up along the way. Okay, take good care of each other and your bodies. Bye.